Buddhism is a world religion founded by the Buddha in ancient India. Buddhists seek wisdom, meaning, inner peace, and freedom from greed, hatred, and ignorance. Mutually sustaining life, a Buddhist call to a troubled world.
At one time, there lived in the Himalayas a bird with one body and two heads. Once, one of the heads noticed the other head eating some sweet fruit and felt jealous. The second head said to itself, "I will then eat poison." So it ate the poison, but the whole bird then died.
Today, I would like to continue our discussion on the second mark of existence. Life is interdependent, but with a focus on the social dimension of our experience. What is the message being conveyed in today's opening passage about a bird with two heads and one body? Well, deep in the mountains of the Himalayas, there lived a rare two-headed bird. One of the heads saw that the other head was eating a lot of sweet fruits, presumably because the first head had only a little or none of the delicious fruit. It felt jealous of the other head, and out of jealousy, this first head wanted to harm the other head by taking poison. It can be said that this is a case where one party feels jealousy and hatred toward the other and reacts by hurting the other. However, since the two share the same body, this action led to the death of not only the second head, but also the perpetrator. Given the interdependent and interconnected nature of their relationship, any attempt to hurt the other ultimately harmed the whole. I believe this same principle applies to our society and our world. For the members are interdependent, interconnected, and interrelated. However, we often divide the groups, align ourselves with one of them, and fall into the us and them mentality. We then claim they are they and we are we, and we have little or nothing in common. However, not only do the various groups have a lot more in common, but they are, in fact, interconnected on a fundamental level. This was aptly expressed using iceberg as a metaphor by Reverend Matsunami in an earlier show. He said that on the surface of the ocean, we see a group of separate icebergs, but under the surface, they are all connected and form one giant block of ice. So when one is harmed, then the entirety is damaged, which is what happened with the two-headed bird. But the first head did not realize that truth when it tried to hurt the other, for it ended up hurting the entire bird, including itself. When we apply this to our world, we find many disturbing examples of the plight of the two-headed bird found in numerous parts of the globe between tribes with centuries-old rivalry and among unforgiving neighboring countries. These conflicts have led to the loss of numerous lives, often those of innocent children. One poignant example stands out in my mind from a scene shown on a newscast some years back. Caught in a crossfire, a volley of gunfire pins down a young boy of about 8 behind a fence of some sort. His father is with him. The boy squats behind the father as he clings to him with all his might. You can see the sense of terror in his face and hear the sound of gunfire and see the bullets shower all around them. And I find myself rooting the boy and his father on. I can feel my heart pumping harder. It's almost surreal that such a scene is being televised at all, but it is definitely real. The camera scene abruptly shifts away from the boy and his father to spare us from the ensuing gruesome scene. Then the reporter announces in an agonizing tone that they had both been hit. My heart sinks in cold despair and soon turns to a burning anger as it is reported that both were killed. My anger is at the death of the innocent boy and the father whose lives were senselessly snatched away. The anger is directed at the people on both sides who continue to perpetrate the conflict with no effort to reconcile. They are like the two-headed bird. I realize that such conflicts are extremely complicated with long histories of implications of geopolitical nature, and that my view may be too simplistic and idealistic. However, it's my hope that sharing with you the lessons of the two-headed bird can have some positive impact in uniting the forces of people of various countries and religions, and to steering more people in the world toward regarding one another as being fundamentally interdependent, interconnected, and interrelated. While the truth of interdependence can have a positive impact on a global scale, it also describes the way our communities actually function, even though we are often not aware of it. A community in which we live, be it a town or a city or county, provides services that we often take for granted, such as public schools, police, fire departments, and hospitals. Especially the latter three do not truly concern us until we are in actual need of their services. Allow me to share my personal account of such an experience. When our daughter, Serena, was 1.5 years old, she suddenly developed flu-like symptoms, but with a slight difference. She had an extremely high temperature and swollen hands rarely found when experiencing the flu. Soon she broke out in a rash all over her body, with the lymph nodes under her jaw growing to the size of a golf ball. We rushed her to her pediatrician. The doctor wasn't sure, but suspected she had contracted Kawasaki disease. Its cause is not clearly known, but this illness leads to the coagulation or the thickening of the blood, which can lead to a rupture of the blood vessels to the heart and sudden death. As we rushed her to the children's hospital nearby, my wife and I were in a state of disbelief that there was a chance that our daughter had come down with such a serious illness. We both prayed that it wasn't so, but after a series of tests, our family doctor's diagnosis was confirmed. Our hearts sank to the floor, but soon we were more preoccupied with making sure that she was getting the right treatment. Well, even after the treatment started, my daughter cried throughout the evening as her lips bled from the thickening of her blood. Even as we wiped her lips clean of blood every 10 minutes, the bleeding continued and smeared the pillow bright red, so that we had to change the pillowcase every hour or so. It was a harrowing night. Around 3 a.m., she finally fell asleep, so I went to the cafeteria for a cup of coffee. As I entered the cafeteria, I was struck with an amazing sight. There were about 40 hospital staff, doctors, nurses, and others in their white uniforms, taking time off from their midnight shifts. All of a sudden, tears welled up, and I had to rush to a nearby table to grab a bunch of napkins to wipe them away. My surprising reaction caught me off guard. It stemmed from my realization that there were so many people working throughout the night to attend to patients like my daughter. I was struck by an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the fact that the hospital existed at all. Without it, we are helpless, but the staff has the knowledge and the experience to diagnose such illnesses and the capacity to treat them. This is obvious, but I had not truly appreciated a hospital's value until we needed its services. As I wiped away my tears with the hospital cafeteria napkins, I experienced firsthand the interconnectedness of our community. Serena ended up being hospitalized for a week and recuperated for another month at home. Though she lost a third of her weight and stopped walking temporarily, fortunately, she has made a full recovery without any damage to her heart and now leads a normal life. I'm sure that many of you have had similar experiences. We take hospitals and other public institutions for granted, but only realize their real value when we are in dire need of their services. Moreover, the state of California provided generous financial assistance to our family to cover much of the enormous medical costs. So, to this day, I automatically bow my head whenever I pass by the Children's Hospital. I also am deeply grateful to the state of California and therefore can't help but to feel an attachment and fondness for the California flag, and especially to the grizzly bear that's emblazoned on its state flag as the state animal. Given my feelings for these public institutions, I now do what I can to repay them for their generosity. For example, in the form of a donation to their annual fundraising efforts. Fortunately, there is no spirit of the double-headed bird at work here. There is instead an abiding sense that the community is interconnected and cannot afford to ignore each other, let alone attack one another. In our next show, a Zen priest will demonstrate the basics of Zen meditation. Please join us.
We at Bukkyo Dendo Kyokai pursue peace and happiness for people around the world. We have published the Buddhist teachings into 41 languages and donated our publication to hotels and other facilities in 55 countries. We would like to share the Buddhist teachings with people around the world. That's our mission. Visit our website for more information.